Specific advice. Health treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and I'm thrilled to be here with my good friend Nancy. We've got so many exciting things going on the show today, and a couple that I'm going to try really hard to not have the top of my head fly off. So first of all, let's say welcome to everybody. And if you're watching us right now and you're watching it live, there are lots of ways to interact. This show is now pre-recorded the day before, but you can still interact. I am watching with you and I'm here to interact. And when Nancy's available, she'll be there to interact as well. So all of the ways that you normally interact, you still can. We are live right now on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and about a dozen other sites that Traven is showing to you. And some of you will be watching us in podcast, all of the places that we're any place that you can get a podcast, we're available. We're a free download. We appreciate you guys have been downloading the podcast in droves. It's been so exciting to watch the numbers. Nancy, we're the 76th most popular show in Ireland of all shows, not just autism. Isn't that amazing?
That's fantastic.
So go Ireland. And we are the #1 rated show for autism worldwide. So that's a pretty incredible thing. But across the board in Ireland, we're number 76. I can't, I can't believe that. That's a really fun thing. So we appreciate that. And we want to interact with you, so you can interact right now on any of those platforms that we were talking about. We're standing by to interact with you, and you can always write into the show. You can write specifically to me at shannon@autism-live.com if you're watching in podcast. So thrilled to be here with my friend Nancy. And a little bit later on, Nancy, you're going to be showing us, or do we want to do it now? You're going to show us some pictures of your son's artwork.
Well, is Trayvon ready now? Because Traven. Yes. Is Traven ready now to show them? He has sold some paintings lately, quite a few.
Is just amazing. We were talking about this last week about how Nancy's son is a brilliant painter. He's a brilliant artist.
That's one he sold, Fish.
It's beautiful, stunning.
Yeah. Sold that one just last week. He sold the peaches still live there that you see, or apples. I'm not sure whether those are peaches or apples.
Love it.
He sold that one. And let's see what's next. The cow. He sold the cow.
The cow is pretty awesome.
Isn't
and the
awesome?
more I look at the cow, the more I love the cow, which is
he sold that to a childhood friend of mine who lives on a farm with cows.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And then is there one more, I think, Traven?
I think there's the fire he sold.
Fire. Yeah, love that. Who bought that?
I think there's one more. Is there one more, Traven? Yes, Palm Springs. He sold that to a dear friend of mine.
It's amazing work. We mentioned his website last week. Tell it to us again, Nancy, so people can go and check out and potentially.
He doesn't have a website, but he has Facebook. We haven't done the website yet. He has Facebook and Instagram pages. His Facebook is capital WY, capital ART, space autism. So that's capital WY, capital ART, space autism. And his Instagram page is WYART_autism.
And you guys get it because his name is Wyatt and it's Y-Art.
Wyatt, Y-Art.
I just...
There's the Facebook page. Traven called it up. You can see it right there.
Yeah, I love it. And I said, you and Reed named him because the name Wyatt Jackson. Come on, that's the name for a painter. It's like you guys knew. And he's very eclectic in his styles.
He is.
And I'm not sure which one I love most, but young man, I keep wanting to say the child because I've known him since he was a child, but the young man is brilliant and talented. So
Thank you.
I'm so glad that, you know, you're at the point where you're selling the paintings, because I've been saying for a long time, that's where that's where it's gonna go. That's where it's gonna go, is that people are gonna want. I was talking to Howie Hoffman the other day, and he was saying that he's just so excited to get, because there's one of them that he's either bought or wants to buy.
He wants to buy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, pretty exciting. And
Yeah.
in our new studio, Nancy, we're gonna have to procure a piece of Y art for our new
Okay.
studio.
Sounds good.
So there we go. There we go.
I'm doing a lot of canvas prints of them because they're selling it. I don't want to part with them. So I make canvas prints.
I love that. And you know, there is still a possibility of buying clothes with his artwork on them, because he does some color studies that I want a silk scarf out of.
Okay.
So I still have to get one of those. But excited that we could start on that good note, because we have a lot of good news on the show. But unfortunately, you know, we're going to do in the news, and we always try to put a nice mix in the news. We're going to start with the ugly, and we're going to end with the beautiful. Okay. So there's a lot of talk right now about a pastor, Greg Locke, and some of the controversial things he has to say. And there's been a firestorm, a quiet firestorm, I will say, because there's so many other things that people are taking issue with this particular pastor. And I want to tread really carefully here, because first of all, I don't ever want to make it sound like I'm saying to someone that you shouldn't feel free to pray to the God of your understanding about your child or yourself and your diagnosis of whatever it is, whether it's autism or, you know, cirrhosis. That, you know, having the ability to pray to the God of your understanding about that, I support that. I participate in that. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that at all. But the issue here is that in a recent sermon, and let me tell you, the sermon is available if you look for it online. I looked to make sure, because I was like, surely he didn't really say this, did he? But you can look, you can find it. He's being criticized, this pastor, for saying that autism and other diagnoses are demonic possession, and that I think the quote that ticked me off the most, Nancy, was that he said, you know, look it up, autism ain't in the Bible. And
autism ain't in the Bible?
Yeah, because his thing is, he says, you know, children, you know, parents bring their children to me and they're tantruming or whatever, and he basically says, this is a demon in you, and you know, we're not going to find answers at doctors, is basically what he implies. But he says, you know, I'm just going to tell you right now that your kids are, I don't know what the quote is. I don't want to give him too much space. If you really want to know what the word for word what he says, go check it out. But
and once again, this is Pastor Greg Locke, Locke.
Yeah,
and he is with an independent fundamentalist church.
But he's got a lot of people watching him right now. He is someone who, in fact, later on this week, he's arranged for a book burning.
Oh.
So he's got, and they're burning Ouija boards and anything to do with Harry Potter, because he says that that's, you know, what's, yes, okay. And it's demonic and whatever. And look, you know, like I said, I want to be careful here, because I think people should be allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. But the reason why there's the video. If you want to go and watch, there's video of him, and he, you know, says the things that he's going to say. But we have the article that we were sharing is an opinion piece by Lydia Joy Launderville, and she comes out and says, you know, I come from a very fundamentalist background, and I've seen preachers stand up and say this kind of malarkey, I'm going to use that word, before, where they say, you know, you have cancer, you need to pray that away, it's because you sinned. whatever it is, and that they're saying that autism is some form of possession because of something evil that the family did or that the child did or whatever. And she talks very eloquently about how damaging this is,
Yes.
how this is at the core of damage that is done to people, and how wildly inappropriate this is.
I mean,
Yeah, go
first
ahead,
of
Nancy.
all, there's nothing that Christ ever preached or said that victimizes people like this and is full of such hateful rhetoric. He believed in
you.
loving all of humanity, and
Thank you.
especially the poor, the sick, the disabled. I mean,
Yeah.
so this is not preaching Christ's word, in my opinion.
Thank you. I so appreciate that, Nancy. This and this whole thing about, he says, well, autism ain't in the Bible. I just want to say to this preacher, well, cars aren't in the Bible either. But listen, fool, I'll bet you didn't walk to these sermons that you're going to. So he needs to stop. And if but I think that this guy is about publicity, and he keeps saying things. And he's like, oh, people might want to shut me down. You might want to leave, but I'm going to say it. That this, that, that this is being caused by things that you're not going to find any help with the doctor, that it is a problem of evil and the devil. And I'm with you, Nancy. This is not anything that is productive, no matter what your religious background is.
It's the antithesis of God's love.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So
let's move on to our next story. Let's not give him any more airtime.
I agree with you. Let's move on.
Okay, so I had it and I lost it, but it's boys with, this is out of the Daily Mail, but it's a study originally out of Japan. And I'm trying to find it again.
So basically, it's a study saying that there's a correlation between the amount of screen time that boys use and the likelihood that they'll be diagnosed on the spectrum. They're saying that boys who have at least 2 hours a day are 3 to 5 times more likely to be diagnosed by autism, with autism by age 3, and that this study has found.
Here's something I wondered about this. Mm-hmm. Is this a case where children maybe are displaying signs of autism and have repetitive behaviors and various things, and parents are putting them in front of the TV more because of that?
Thank you, Nancy. I had the same question.
Did you?
I totally did, because if you read a little bit in the article and it talks about, what it is that they found, listen, they've got 1-year-olds who are sitting there on the iPads. And my question was, who gives an iPad to a 1-year-old? You only give an iPad to a 1-year-old if the 1-year-old finds it exciting and is pushing buttons.
Right.
And if that is true of a 1-year-old, it might be that the 1-year-old has that sort of mindset that we've talked about so many times with Temple Grandin, and they found it reinforcing, which is why you allowed them to continue having it.
Right.
Because it was a way that they could connect and a way that they could communicate.
In my household, when Wyatt was 1 to 2, Baby Einstein was on a lot. I mean, I have to fess up to the fact that he probably watched that. I don't know that he watched it for 2 hours a day, but he definitely watched his fair share of it.
Oh, and we had Baby Einstein in the background. We had Baby Einstein in the background for like 6 hours at a time. It didn't mean we sat in front of it for 6 hours, but it was on all the time. But I'm with you, Nancy. I'm like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did these kids already have a propensity that their brains were forming, and seeing things in a different way, and it was more exciting to them what was happening in the iPad, and they could use the iPad easier, and that's why they spent more time? I think what the title of the article wants us to believe is that screen time causes autism. Right. And I don't think there's anything in the study that shows that.
And they said that possibly at the end of this article in the Daily Mail, it said it could have something to do with electromagnetic feedback.
Yeah, there's a growing school of thought that says that, every piece of equipment that you have puts out that field around it, and that people have said that electromagnetic field that your grandparents didn't have could brain to grow faster. And one of the things that we know is individuals that are on the autism spectrum, there's a period of time in which their brains grow faster. And
Right.
that sometimes that means you get better long distance than local service, is the way that it was always explained to me. And there are more and more people that are encouraging you that not to live close to power lines and
Right.
to not allow your child to sleep with their phone or
Right.
any other electronics, to unplug things around their bed. That part, I'm going to say, I think that there is some actual truth and scientific fact, enough teeth to like look at. Don't let your child have their phone in bed.
Right. It says the team said screen time could affect autism rates because electromagnetic waves emitted by screens have been shown to affect behavior in mice.
Yeah, well, I think it's been shown to affect behavior in all of our
Mm-hmm.
brains.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to really look at it, but I don't think anybody's close to saying causation yet. And I don't think we should jump to causation of screen time. What I do think we should talk about, though, is that if you see that your child is more interested in spending time on a screen, that you have them screened, let's use the same word, to see if there are other areas, because what will happen is your child might get looked at sooner. And what we want to do is let them have some screen time that's really productive, but let them have other times to shore up if they're falling behind in something else. That's what I would like to add to that. Anything you want to add, Nancy?
No, I think that covers it.
So I don't know how many of you saw last week on Undercover Boss, which I admit that I am a regular viewer of Undercover Boss. They had the lovely CEO of Rita's Italian Ice and Custard. She was the featured CEO for the week. And she's someone who, I think it was like 2018, she took over this business. So you can imagine how rocky that has been to have taken over a business. And within the first couple of years, you get COVID, right? And have to deal with all of that. But she did the typical thing on Undercover Boss, where they take them and they go undercover and they're dressed as somebody else so that nobody knows they're dealing with the CEO. And she went to view a couple of the locations. Rita's Italian Ice and Frozen Custard is a franchise business. So there were different owners that she went to see their shops and see what they were struggling with, to see if there was something that they could be doing to help them. And they go to 3 usually. That's the formula. And she went to the first one, and then she went to the second one, and she goes to the third one. And right as she's walking in, she says, I've come to this location because, with recent trends, we've been having difficulty hiring, getting good staff to come and stay. It's been an issue, because it's been an issue for every business, right? And she says, but I want to come to this location because the owner here has some really innovative takes on this and has been very successful at hiring some really wonderful employees, and I want to learn more about it. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, because I hear all these businesses complain about not being able to get good staff. And she, meets the owner. We fall in love with the owner. He seems really charming. And the owner says, okay, now I'm going to, does a whole thing with her. He says, now I'm going to take you out on the floor, and I've got an employee who's going to teach you how to run the register. And she says, okay. And he said, and I'm just going to give you a heads up that Pastiche has been with us for over 1.5 years, and she's one of our favorite employees. And she happens to be autistic. And he says, we've found that hiring individuals who are neurodivergent has been a really incredible thing for us. They're amazing employees, and we've had great success and less turnover. And she says, okay, I can't wait. And I was like sitting up and I was like, what's happening? And she goes out and we meet Pastiche, and Pastiche is beyond incredible, teaches the CEO how to run the register in a way that the CEO can access it. She was like, oh my gosh, you're such a good teacher. She's fabulous with the customers. She's wonderful. And the CEO is so thrilled. And then they get into a conversation, and she finds out that Pastiche is an artist. She's an illustrator, and she's working on a children's book for autism. And I just was clutching my pearls, Nancy. I was so excited. And I'm already like Googling everything about Rita's and about Pastiche. And I I will say that at the end of the show, the CEOs always give things to the employees that they've been helping. And one of the things that happened was that she said, we're going to start a diversity program, hiring program here, and we're going to ask for Pastiche's help. And she said, Pastiche, we're going to help you to get your book published.
Fantastic.
Right? And I said, when it was over, I said, you know, I've never heard of Rita's Italian Ice and Custard before, but I'm going to go now. I'm going to go to one and I'm going to buy people Rita's Italian Ice and Custard to support what they're doing there. But then I reached out to Pastiche, and Pastiche is here with us now.
Fantastic.
She's our first guest.
So great.
She's an
Pastiche,
incredible
are you
artist.
there?
Hi.
Hi, Pastiche.
Hi, everybody.
Pastiche, I'm so thrilled you're here with us so that people can get to see your bright, shining face. Because you're amazing.
Thank you so much.
First, I got to start with, now that you're a TV star, because it just aired last Friday, but I'm sure that people like me have been contacting you, that everybody's been contacting. What's been the reaction, Pastiche?
So most people that I've known, or has just been getting to know me, has had the feeling of connectedness, and getting so many people coming to me after the premiere of Undercover Boss, were telling me that they had tears of relief striking down their face, because this is a conversation that hardly ever gets talked about respectfully, and a conversation like autism, that is hardly seen authentically being talked about from an autistic person, like, what I've, been showing on the show. And they thought that it was the greatest episode that they've seen in a while, because it's not often that you see an autistic person being broadcasted on TV talk about the things that should be included.
Yeah. Pastiche, I know this has been like a whirlwind for you, all the attention, and we're so happy you could join us today. Tell us a little bit about your background. When were you diagnosed as being on the spectrum?
Oh, great. My diagnosis assessment, I was diagnosed at 4. So I would have been too young to understand about, who I was, the autistic part of, understanding, me trying to understand the autistic part of me. So that's why my parents at first couldn't tell me, because I would have been too young to understand. But as I gotten older and started going to grade school, I started finding out of why I was in special ed classes, why was I getting, certain, how would you say it? Certain one-on-one certain one-on-one time with certain speech teachers and other teachers that have pulled me out of class to accommodate my learning and things like that. And I found out I was autistic when I was probably around like 4th or 5th grade at the time. And I knew that, I had to have a conversation with people about this, because this was all new to me. And, and growing up, finding out that I was autistic was actually a relief. And so a lot of the traits I've been displaying growing up, like the stimming, the repetitive fixation and all the things like that, I think has made me someone, as an autistic person, come to a better understanding of myself.
Good.
Amazing.
Great.
Tell us about the book, Pastiche. What's happening with the book, and tell us anything you can tell us about the book.
Oh, yes. So the book that I have coming out, I believe in the spring of 2022, is about autism acceptance because it's the month of Autism Acceptance Month. And I wanted to let everybody know right here, right now, that the story is dedicated to every last autistic person that has either came to terms that they're autistic, and more so of autistic people who hasn't came to terms with it, because those are the people that feel like they need a cure um, to seek normalcy. And that is the whole point of the very first children's book, is to teach society that we need we need to see more authenticity in acceptance, and we need to see a world full of open arms to be able to um, get to know autism and get to know the part of the person who is autistic, because I think the way that society is so closed off and that is so grounded in stereotypes, I think is another reason to release the story.
Amazing.
And yeah.
Amazing. And where will we be able to get it, a Pastiche? Do you know?
So it is going to get published from somebody. So I'm very excited about that. And I do know that the first place it's going to be released on is Amazon, for
Wonderful.
sure.
And what is do you have a title for it, Pastiche?
Yes, it's called Bellton. It's so it's Bellton, and then Lydflower is Lydflower. And so it's Bellton and Lydflower, and then the subtitle is When Lydflower Finds Her Missing Mystery to Autism Acceptance.
And so is that the main character, Bellton?
Bellton is the first main character, and Lydflower is the second main character. Oh, and another thing I wanted to share is that the diversity that's going to be in the story, due to the lack of inclusion of Black autistic people and biracial autistic people, and I just wanted to start a series where autism is more represented in Black autistic people, because it's not being seen enough. And I wanted to start creating that for people to. Yep.
Fantastic. And are you still working at Rita's, Pastiche?
I am, yes. Rita's has been a great experience. And my boss, as you guys mentioned earlier, Andrew Collins, he is just absolutely out of this world awesome. He would literally go out of his way to always help with no problem, not a worry in the world. And he's just absolutely great. And Chip is awesome too. He's a partner of Andrew's, and they both own the business. And it's not every day that you see two owners who are autistic own a business.
Oh, they're both autistic?
They're both autistic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, both autistic.
He did not disclose that on the show. He disclosed that Chip was, but he did not disclose that he was. So that's amazing. And they just recently got married. So make sure you tell them we said congratulations on their wedding.
Oh yeah, I sure will tell them congratulations.
Now, one of the things that the CEO of Rita said during the show was that they were going to start across all of their not stores, but their restaurants, their franchisees. Yeah. That they were going to start a diversity program based on what you guys were doing at your store. And she was asking for your help. Is that something that's been happening Pastiche, have you been consulting with them about that?
Okay, so yes, I have. We've been talking about wanting to start this thing where we start hiring more and more autistic people and other disabled people, because the lack of representation in most businesses, I think, is another issue as to why most businesses are not growing as they should, as why they feel like they can't find anybody or why they can't hire anybody. And we wanted to start doing this because we're seeing the effect that is putting on the population of autistic people and all other disabled people worldwide. And we wanted to be the first to start that.
Great. That's fantastic. So happy you're involved. And what did you think of the CEO?
Oh, I absolutely love her. I mean, I know that ever runs into her one of these days, I guarantee you, like, because I've met her in person, I can say for myself that she is so sweet.
I
She
loved
really
her.
is.
I loved her. And Pastiche, she was wearing a blue suit. I wore my blue shirt to match the blue suit that she was wearing towards the end. I loved that suit. I want to know where she got that suit. It's exactly the suit I want, Nancy. So
Is
if
it?
you talk to her, Pastiche, I want to know where she gets her suits. It was just a beautiful, beautiful suit. So
Yeah, I'll definitely ask her.
I want to know, like, where
Yeah,
I
I'll
probably
get
can't
back to
afford
you.
it,
I'll
but
get back to you on that.
I love that. Now, Pastiche, is there anything that you want to say to employers that are out there who have businesses or their HR directors and they're all crying about how they got nobody to hire? Is there anything you want to say to them about hiring with neurodiversity in mind?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest things though that I need like most businesses to start realizing is that if you hire, okay, let's say for example, like there's an autistic person, there's like two employers that are looking for people to work at their company. And let's say like the autistic person does get hired, but without being accommodated. And the position, unfortunately, that most disabled people do end up getting is working in the very back of the store, doing dishes and cleaning floors and doing all the things that are just without being accommodated or just without any support during the workforce. And one thing that I think most businesses should be a lot more better on is, you know, during the interview, they should really, really consider asking the 4 words: what are your accommodations to make the work environment effective and more safe enough for autistic people and all other disabled people to do the work according to the work standards. I think another fallback that most businesses are having right now with hiring disabled people and autistic people is the simple fact that they are not in front of the store working, like their faces are not like reflecting the business as much as it needs to be, because we are in a very the population of disabled people is very excluded in this whole environment, that it's like you don't really see too many faces of autistic people working in front of the building or running a cash register or taking phone calls from guests or, you know, taking orders from guests at tables. And we want, the thing that I want to see happening more is more businesses letting autistic people and disabled people work in front of the store instead of always in the back of the store.
Nice.
And that's why you could have like customers come in and say, oh, I don't see any autistic people working because my autistic son can't work. And, comments like that make me want to say to businesses, you have to start being more considerate of people that you don't even give chances to. And it's just appalling to me that, and unfortunate, that we live in a very, very inconsiderate world structure of the world. And what I've displayed on Undercover Boss, on the episode, was exactly the way that I would love to see the world become.
Well, thank you, Pastiche. You're a remarkable young woman. When your book comes out, we're going to have you back on. Is that a deal?
That is a great deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastiche. You are an amazing, amazing ambassador at breaking down walls and showing people what's possible. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, no worries. Am I able to share this when this is all done? Or
Yes.
Yes.
As soon as the podcast is out, we hope you'll share it with everybody you know.
I will. Yeah.
All right. We look forward to hearing more from you, and we want to have you back for the book. So, but bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. What
She
a breath
was
of fresh air she
wonderful.
is, huh? Who did you automatically think, oh, I'd love to have them see this interview?
Who did I think? Joanne Laura.
Of course.
And now, good transition, because we
Yes.
have with us for our Autism Family Portraits a woman who is actually on the board of the Joanne Laura Foundation and was very close to Joanne, a wonderful autism mom. Let's welcome Julie Wedeen to the show.
Wedeen. We say it Julie Wedeen, don't we?
Wedeen. Sorry, Julie.
Hi. It's so
Hi.
nice to see you.
So nice to see
Boy,
you.
was Pastiche incredible. And I had seen the show on Sunday. So I was sitting there at first going, where do I know her from? And then when it was revealed, I'm like, she was incredible. And of course I thought about Joanne.
Yeah.
And-
I was like, oh, Joanne would have been on the phone with the CEO the minute it was over.
And the fact that it was Rita's like custard ice cream, I thought, that just sounds so good. Why don't we have that here?
Right.
We
maybe
do.
we'll get one.
We actually do. There is one in Santa Clarita. I looked it up. So, and I think there's one even closer. There is, because I'm going to go to one. I'm going to go to one, and I'm currently, because of diabetes, I can't eat anything, but I'm going to buy somebody else some Rita's Italian ice and custard.
You can buy me some, Shannon. I'll take it.
I
That
will. I'm
sounds
thinking about buying it
wonderful.
for strangers too, Nancy, because I
Okay.
just want to support. But Julie, I cannot believe we've had you on in little ways before, but never like a full interview before. What's
No.
wrong with us?
No, I mean, it's incredible that you even want to have me on.
Oh,
I'm very
well,
honored.
we're very excited to have you here. Julie, you've got a great background. You were senior vice president at Wells Fargo. You've been on the board of various autism and therapy programs for autism. As I mentioned, you're with the Joanne Laura Foundation, which was Autism Works Now. You were the treasurer there. You were also at Autism Movement Therapy and an equestrian program as well, right?
Special, CERT, Special Equestrian Riding Therapy.
Okay, so, and you are the mother of a 25-year-old son who is on the spectrum, Tyler.
Yes.
Tell us about Tyler.
So Tyler, 25 now, it's hard to believe, was born prematurely, and he spent about 3 months in the NICU, and he was about a year and a half, 18 months when I went for a checkup with the neurologist, actually. And she said, well, he certainly won't be playing in the Olympics.
Mm.
So not great bedside manner, but we did get to the Special Olympics opening ceremony here in LA a few years ago.
Good for you.
And then he was he got the regional center support for the physical disabilities. He has both cerebral palsy and autism.
Okay.
so he went to preschool, kindergarten, both of those in an OH, other health impairment class, and was not really diagnosed with autism until he was probably about 8. So,
Really? So that was a late diagnosis. Do you feel
It
like you
was.
could have been diagnosed much younger?
yes, yes. I think part of that probably was my fault. When I would fill out those questionnaires, I would say, of course he looks at me.
Right.
He has pretty good speech. But then he didn't, and I was so focused on the physical, he didn't walk until he was 8. After major surgery and really awesome PT. So once he was still in a walker when I signed him up for like everything for, we were the first special needs soccer team at our Balboa Park. Then he was horseback riding at age 5. And then we were the first Cub Scout troop for special needs in the Valley. So I was always focused on the physical.
Mm-hmm.
But then I noticed, he's not really making any friends. I was making great lifelong friends, fortunately, because you need the community. And took him to another neurologist and explained that, I was concerned that he wasn't really engaged with kids his own age. And she said, well, the good news is he'll be an adult one day. So here we are, and he is an adult, and he's engaging more with people, but not so much his peers. So,
and yet he's one of the most amazing people.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever said this to you, but so often what we would do on holidays, our dear friend Joanne, friends, all of us were friends with Joanne. Joanne liked to have the holiday at her house.
She did.
Whether it was Easter or Thanksgiving, she liked to have a holiday at her house. I don't really say this much on the show, but I'm somebody who, I know everybody will go, what? But I find it very hard to be in groups of people because I don't know what to say. I have social anxiety and I'm a little introverted and I feel weird. I feel like everybody's in on a secret that I'm not in on. And expects me to be this really outgoing, and I can be if I already know you. Mm-hmm. But even if I already know you, if there's a group of people, I find it hard. My favorite thing at Joanne's parties was to sit down and talk with Tyler because Tyler accepted me for who and where I was. And I didn't have to work so hard to be something. Tyler and I would just sit and have a conversation. So Tyler was always I would always gravitate to where Tyler was, and I would enjoy that interaction with him. And I haven't seen him throughout all of COVID, but the last time I saw him was at an event at the Ed Asner Family Center where there was just this amazing moment. And I think you and I were in the back talking, and you were like, hold on a second, because he had gone up and said, I'm going to do the next number. I'm going to sing karaoke.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was amazing. He was amazing. He's an amazing person. He deserves to have all the friends. He's a great conversationalist.
Yeah. Tell us what Tyler is doing now and what what he's up to.
So when COVID hit in March of whatever year that was, who knows?
2020,
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I brought him home. He had been living in a group home. Mm-hmm. And that was a really, really hard decision for me to put him in a group home.
Right.
But, Joanne encouraged me, and I think it was probably one of the best things because he did need to grow and become more independent and not so dependent on me. And so it worked out really well. But I think it also has worked out that he's home. He's shredding paper. That's what he loves to do. Mm-hmm. He also likes to listen to music. So he's big music. He doesn't have any talents musically, but he likes to listen to it. But actually, his talent is his repertoire is like from rap to Frank Sinatra. I mean, he comes up with songs that, you know, because he's in a day program that meets for 2 hours a day via Zoom. I have him doing a divergent fitness class, and he also does some other exercise class. So he's got PT. I put him back into PT because he's kind of wobbly because we're not active. We're not going anywhere.
Right. This has been a really challenging time for parents with COVID, right? That have had, because so many people that Shannon and I know, so many moms have had to pull their kids out of their residential programs. That must have been incredibly challenging for you.
It was, because I was working full time, but I was able to work from home.
Yeah.
So, you know, between meetings, I'd get him set up for his Zoom call, and then so it worked out. But now I retired a month ago, and now I have more time to spend with him. He's a real foodie, like his mom, I guess, and he loves to go out to eat. So, you know, during the when COVID wasn't at high surges, we'd go out to eat. We've done a couple of little trips. We spent the night at Disneyland last week. And so he's one thing that I'm very, very fortunate in. He's very flexible. He loves to travel and try new things. And he doesn't have to be on a schedule, and he's not rigid in any way.
Right.
And he's charming too. But you mentioned you were working, and I think that's one of the things we have to talk about, is that not only, you know, did you have a diagnosis of the CP, but you also had the diagnosis of autism, and you were working full time. Yes. So when you talk about, oh, you know, we were the first Cub Scout, and we were the first this, you were doing all of that while working full time, Julie. And I think there's a lot of people who are watching right now who feel some measure of overwhelm. You had to have been overwhelmed. How did you work through it?
I really think friends, and making the friends in that community. You know, I looked forward to going to the soccer field and seeing the moms that I'm still friends with. That really, just having the community, having supportive people that did understand what I'm going through, because a lot of parents that, you know, without any interaction with kids with autism don't understand.
Right.
So I think that was really important.
You didn't at all feel like, oh, well, they're all just dealing with autism, or they're all just dealing with CP, and I'm the one that's dealing with both. There was no, you didn't feel left out of the community because you had both?
No, I guess I was lucky that way. I never really found a CP community. It was always really just autism. In fact, that was really hard, because when he was in middle school, you know, the buzz was, you want our kids fully included. They all need to be fully included, including Joanne. You know, he's got to be fully included. But then after, you know, her interactions with Tyler, et cetera, she's the one that recommended the help group. So he went into a school specifically for autism. What I think might have been, I don't know, not a mistake, but one of the drawbacks in that is they had no experience with the physical disability. So they never challenged him, especially when he got to the voc ed age, you know, when they can go to the help group or any school until they're 22. So between 18 and 22, he was supposed to be being prepared for some sort of vocation.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen other than they sat him in front of a shredder and let him shred.
And so now he wants to tear paper. Is this any
Yeah,
great mystery, right?
right,
Um,
right.
Amazing. Have you
Well,
thought about
Julie,
setting up your own shredding business,
Yeah,
Julie?
yeah.
I actually have. The problem is I'm paying people to provide me shredding rather than them paying him. I have friends. I actually had a friend in Pennsylvania send us shredding. I'm like, anybody, please, please, because it got to the point where he was shredding anything he found, he would
Yeah.
shred. So I had to,
Yeah.
take away photos.
Well, I'm going to keep that in mind because I've got a stack of
Oh,
paper that I need shredded.
Yeah.
Julie,
please.
what are your hopes for Tyler for the future? Do you?
I just want him to, he continues to grow and amaze me. I want that to continue, and I think he can hear me. But
Yeah.
he has really super sonic hearing. I think in the right group home, he would really thrive. So that's something, in the future.
Let's hope the world is opening back up, and that will be
Yeah.
a possibility for him.
There's one in particular that I really like that we'll see, if it happens. But he I he seems to be extremely happy. Well, maybe not extremely, but happy, and I want that to continue. Um, as long as he continues to grow, mature, that's real, and be happy. He's gonna have his experiences, and that's really what I hope for him. When he was probably 3, I set up a college fund because my expectation when he was born was he would get a degree and have a career. So I'm not sure, other than maybe shredding, or I could see him scooping ice cream at a Rita's.
I can see that too. I think,
Yeah,
unfortunately Joanne was taken away from us too early, but I think
yeah,
that, Joanne was headed in the ice cream direction, and I think
I know.
she would have put him to work. Um,
Yeah,
but I, if we could just take 1 minute to talk about the fact that you said that it was so hard for you to have him placed. And that Joanne was one of the people who was really pushing you in that direction. And that had it not been for COVID, that, it sounded like you were saying that there were some good things about that. There are a lot of people out there, Julie, right now who it's
yeah,
unthinkable. But I know that Joanne really was pushing you because she
yeah,
felt that there were benefits for both of you.
right.
Maybe if you could talk a little bit for parents about, while he was there, what were the benefits and maybe what were the hardest parts of it?
Okay. The I think the benefits, he was in 2 different group homes. One was actually it's supported by the help group. So all of those kids were much higher functioning than Tyler. Tyler's on the high level of low functioning, is what Joanne explained to me. So all the kids have chores. He couldn't push a vacuum cleaner or empty a dryer and fold clothes. So he wasn't successful in that environment. He moved into another group home that was independently run, just, and that one wasn't focused on autism so much on just um, um, cognitively disabled people.
Okay.
And so that one, I don't think he thrived as much. I think something I think it depends on what each family wants for their child and the correct placement, just like school. But the the benefits were that he really became much more independent.
Mhm. And for you, I'm sure in a way it was very difficult to let go, but also very freeing for you, I would imagine.
It didn't seem like it was, but I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, I mean, I've been around you enough to know that you, like, Tyler is the center point of your world. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that Nancy and I belong to that club too. And so even though he was living someplace else, he was still very much a part of your life. You were still very much his mom. You were still very active in his life,
I was.
and
Yeah.
he was active in your life. I
Right.
think a lot of times we think when your child goes to live someplace else that you are no longer the parent. It
And
just
that's not
isn't
true.
the case. Yeah.
No, not at all.
And you know, whenever I was at an event, you know, you had picked Tyler up, and Tyler was there with you at the event for the holidays event. You were
Right.
spending time with him. You were still going to restaurants with him.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so you know,
Yeah.
you just weren't seeing him at night and first thing in the morning and while you were at work, but he was still very much a part of your life.
Right. And he learned to do more things on his own. Um, and I'm going to do it again as soon as the place that I'm hoping opens up.
But it's
Well,
got to be the
great.
right place, I think,
Yes.
is what I'm hearing you say.
Our wish for you is that that happens and you find that
Thank
place.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Thank you
both you
so
and
much.
Tyler.
And Julie, you got to know, you know, you were like, why would we want to hear from you? You've been an inspiration to many of us.
Thank you.
So you are much beloved in this community by the two of us and many others. And you're the hardest working mom. And I'm glad that you finally got to retire from your job.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think we need to have you put together a sort of financial rules or something for moms of kids on the spectrum, because I think you know things that I don't know and things that other people would like to know.
Maybe that's something I can work on now that I'm
Yeah, that
retired.
would be great, Julie.
Let us know what you know, because you know things. You're amazing. Please
Oh,
give
thank you.
Tyler our love and give him a hug. I didn't realize he was home. He could have been on with you.
Yeah, he kind of wanted to. I bribed him.
He could
We
have been
would have
on. We
had
would have
him.
loved it.
We would have loved to have had
He
it.
would ask everybody their age, what year they were born, and if they were older than
And
that.
you know
That's
what?
what he perseverates on.
That's
I'm
okay.
all in on that. I think that's why Tyler and I get along so well at parties, because I know those questions are coming. I know the answers to them. I don't have to
Right.
research them. And I know that we're going to have a great conversation. So it would have been okay. Please give him our love, okay?
I will for sure.
Thanks for
And I
joining
hope
us
I get to
today.
see you both soon in person.
I
Yes.
know.
I'm breaking out of my cocoon next week.
Awesome.
I have been one of the carefulest people, haven't gone anywhere, and in a week I'm calling it.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
gonna
you
be
know,
back,
Shannon,
but I'm gonna be out
I'm
and about.
just a couple of miles away from you. So
All right. Well, put me on your calendar. We're gonna get
okay.
together.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Love
Julie.
you.
Thanks for joining us. Bye bye.
Thank you. Love you
Bye-bye.
both. Bye.
Love you too. What an amazing show today to talk to these two amazing women.
I have
and
loved
for
it. You
too.
know, Julie is such an inspiration. Dealing a lot of viewers out there, probably Shannon, can relate that have children with comorbidities. I was reading a Facebook post from a mom I love, Alex. Her son's name is Alex, and he has Down syndrome and autism. And she was having a particularly rough day because she got hit in the head by an iPad from him, and that he had an accident. And I wrote her and I said, "You are such an inspiration, and this too shall pass." And these are some of the most dedicated, devoted mothers, and my hat goes off to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I've had such a good time with you today, Nancy. I want everybody to know we've got an amazing set of shows next week. And on Monday, we're starting off with an author of a new book that's going to be coming out, I think maybe tomorrow. Over the weekend, it's coming out. And it's all from the point of view of an individual on the spectrum, but it's told in Yelp reviews. So I've just started reading it and I'm fascinated by it. So that's going to
Sounds
be on
great.
Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have Ask Dr. Doreen. And on Wednesday, do you know who is going to be on the show on Wednesday? I'm so excited about this. Rachel Bird is going to be on the show with me. We've had her son Kobe on the show many times, but I've been begging his mom, Rachel Bird, one of my best friends, and just, Nancy, the things that she makes, gluten-free, dairy-free, it's just incredible. She's an amazing crafter, an amazing mom, and
all right, I'll tune in.
Needs to have her own cooking show. Let's just say that. She has an Instagram that if you want to follow, it's called Small Kitchen Big Flavor.
Okay.
And and it's almost all gluten-free stuff. She's amazing. One of the funniest people I know. So she's going to be with us. And I know, I can't think of who we have on our show next week, but I know it's amazing. I just can't think off the top of my head, but
we're out of time, Shannon.
We are out of time. I love you, Nancy.
I love you,
see
Shannon.
You guys next Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.